Some relationships are written in the stars. Others are warned by them. In this video, I will examine the astrological synastry between Scott and Laci Peterson to uncover hidden tensions, karmic triggers, and incompatibilities that may have foreshadowed tragedy. What do the stars reveal when love turns fatal? On the surface, they seemed the perfect match. Bright, attractive, young, and madly in love. But their synastry tells quite a different story. A story of control, imbalance, emotional detachment. In this astrological breakdown, we'll look at the tension in their stars and what may have led to Laci's tragic murder at Scott's hands. Astrology doesn't predict crime, but it can reveal patterns, imbalances, and emotional friction that build over time. We will look at where the harmony existed, where it frayed, and what their synastry says about deeper and darker psychological dynamics at play. Peterson was born October 24, 1972, in San Diego, California at 9:30 a.m. Laci was born on May 4th, 1975, in Modesto, California at 4:44 a.m. At first blush, the chemistry is apparent. Scott's Scorpio sun opposing Laci's Taurus sun for instant attraction and recognition. The Gemini moon trining an Aquarius moon, although not in orb in the charts, and the Sagittarius rising trining the Aries rising. This was an electric combination which radiated passion, chemistry, and beauty. They were both very attractive people, and together they seemed to shine. But a deeper look will reveal certain stresses between the planets that were nearly impossible to overcome. The first sign of trouble is Laci's Venus conjunct Scott's Saturn in Gemini. It describes love restricted by limitations and emotional coldness, also a sense of inadequacy, not being able to live up to one partner's expectations. Venus wants connection, warmth, and ease. Saturn, on the other hand, tends to restrict, delay, or test the desire. This can create a dynamic where Laci's affectionate and social nature felt limited or weighed down by Scott's emotional reserve or cautiousness. Rather than free-flowing love, there's a sense of emotional responsibility or even distancing, a sense of love under pressure that often leads to frustration and withdrawal. Next is the square between Laci's Venus in Gemini to Scott's Venus in Virgo. This highlights differing emotional styles and values. Gemini's Venus craves variety, intellectual stimulation, and lighthearted flirting. Virgo's Venus, on the other hand, values order, loyalty, and practical care. This square can create friction in how affection is expressed and received. What feels loving and natural to one may seem superficial or overly critical to the other. It's a classic recipe for misunderstandings and unmet emotional expectations, a subtle but persistent source of tension. The first sign of trouble is Laci's Venus conjunct Scott's Saturn in Gemini. It describes love restricted by limitations and emotional coldness, also a sense of inadequacy, not being able to live up to one partner's expectations. Venus wants connection, warmth, and ease. Saturn, on the other hand, tends to restrict, delay, or test the desire. This can create a dynamic where Laci's affectionate and social nature felt limited or weighed down by Scott's emotional reserve or cautiousness. Rather than free flowing love, there's a sense of emotional responsibility or even distancing, a sense of love under pressure that often leads to frustration and withdrawal. Adding to the stress of the Venus Mars opposition is the Venus Saturn conjunction that I just talked about. The square of Laci's Mars to Scott's Saturn is a clash between aggressiveness on the one hand and strict discipline and control on the other. This conflict can lead to frustration and ultimately abuse and violence. Since you've watched the video thus far, and I hope you're enjoying it, you may be interested in my book, Exploring Forensic Astrology: The Secrets Behind Famous Family Murders, where in Chapter 1, I discuss the Scott and Laci Peterson case in much more detail with analysis of their natal charts as well. Now, back to the video. Next is Scott's moon conjunct Laci's south node, also known as Ketu. This describes emotional patterns from the past and karmic ties. The aspect suggests a deep karmic emotional connection rooted in past patterns. This aspect can create a sense of familiarity and an emotional pull that's hard to resist, sometimes to the detriment of growth or healthy boundaries. And it often signals a relationship where old wounds and patterns are replayed, making it difficult for either partner to break free from recurring emotional cycles. And now we get to a more dangerous lineup of planetary forces. Scott's Mars Uranus conjunction trines Laci's Venus. It signals an electric attraction, but with unpredictability. This aspect stands out as a rare spark of excitement amid the tension. Mars Uranus together bring sudden energy, rebellion, and a craving for freedom, while Venus responds with affection and openness. Note the craving for freedom may refer to Scott's reluctance to have a child in the marriage, which would have taken a great deal of attention away from him and towards the baby Connor. The trine creates an electric but unconventional attraction, a dynamic that at first may feel thrilling and unpredictable, but also frightening. With Uranus involved, stability is elusive at best. While at good times the connection is passionate and exciting, it's also marked by sudden drastic shifts and surprises that can unsettle the relationship. In fact, that can ultimately destroy it. Lacy's north node conjoins Scott's ascendant Neptune conjunction. This powerful connection describes a fateful attraction reflected through a lens of deception and illusion. Through his moon Neptune rising on his ascendant, Scott projected an ideal identity of someone he really wasn't. He was a master of illusion, delusion, and deceit. Laci fell for this handsome, striking image so craftfully constructed until it was too late. Instead, lying in wait was a narcissist whose needs were all that mattered. The North Node showed the rest of her soul's journey, but tragically she could not gain the full lesson. And finally, Lacy's Taurus sun was in direct opposition to Scott's Black Moon Lilith in secretive Scorpio. She became the unwilling and undeserving recipient of Scott's deeply hidden but malevolent shadow side that was only out for his own personal gratification. May Laci rest in peace. May Scott remain where he has been for the past 20 years, behind prison bars in a California penitentiary. You may find my books at the links listed below. I'm B.D. Salerno. Thanks for watching.